Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders, about to do 2 rehousings today. The first one will be Nando coloratovillosus. Picked this guy up about 16 months or so ago. It's about a 1/2-inch sling and it's put on quite a bit of size, and it's time for a rehousing. This one's desperately in need of a new home, so we're going to do that one. Second one we'll be doing is Thrixopelma ockerti. I've had 2 of these in the past. Both ended up being males, which is really disappointing. Cool thing is, one of them ended up maturing at about 3.5 inches. The other one ended up maturing closer to 6, maybe 6.5. It was a big one. So that was interesting. Hopefully this time around, 3rd time's a charm, and I will get a female because I love the species and really want a beautiful female to put in my collection and have in one of those bioactive enclosures. So enough of me talking. Let's get on to the actual rehousing. All right, we're about to rehouse my Nando coloratovillosus. I got this at Dinky Reptiles, I think about 1.5 years, maybe a little shy of 1.5 years ago. It was last summer, I think, basically. And at that point, it was about a 1/2 inch and was in a dram vial. I kept it in the dram vial for about 6 months or so. And just as far as care goes with these guys, just like any sling, deep substrate, it did burrow. I'm going to say she, but I don't know. It's looking a little gangly. We'll see how it goes, but could be a he. I'm getting a lot of he's lately. But deep, moist substrate, it did burrow. It ate amazingly well. It was a voracious eater, molted quite a few times. I mean, it was basically every 2 months it was molting. So then I moved it into one of these, which are the M design enclosures, which unfortunately I can't find anymore. So for people that want me to put a link, last time I couldn't find a link for anybody that was actually selling them. So it wasn't me being lazy. It doesn't look like they're selling them anymore. Or I did find a link and they were like 50 bucks for 3 of them, which is ridiculous. But anyway, put them into one of these. It burrowed again, kept most of the substrate moist, gave it a water dish, which it proceeded to fill up with dirt here. And now it's ready to go into this, which is an Exoterra breeding box, I think, which is the 7x12 or so. This will be temporary. I didn't put a lot of fixings in here because honestly I expect to probably be out of this rather quickly. It's going to put on a great deal of size and then we'll look at an adult enclosure. But I got the cork bark, the substrate, something a little different. I didn't want to use the Biodude stuff. I've got a bunch of bags of Biodude that I've been using for permanent enclosures because this is a juvenile enclosure and it probably won't be in here that long. I didn't want to use a bag of that up. So what we got here is some peat moss mixed with vermiculite. And I've used peat moss in the past and I just found a bag of it in my garage that I haven't touched in a while. So I decided to work some of that in because I know some people have been asking me about peat. It usually works pretty well, but it goes in, it's incredibly dusty to start off. And I think there's a little excess cocoa fiber in there that I had left over. So anyway, we're going to try to get this one out. Hopefully Billy can get a picture of it. This one has been quite skittish now that it's put on some size. It's a hair kicker, and supposedly Nando hairs are particularly nasty, so we'll see how it goes here. Now I'm going to try to get her into the catch cup, which is not going to be fun. And of course, there's the cork bark that I usually take out. Easy, easy. Nope, nope, nope. That's exactly what I don't want you to do. Whee. All right, well, there's a shot of he or she. I'm hoping for she. I think I had a streak for years where I wasn't bragging, but I recognized I was very fortunate to get a lot of females from things I'd raised as slings. That streak came to a crashing halt about 1.5 years ago, and I think out of the last 15 or so tarantulas I've sexed, 13 of them have been male. So it was good while it lasted. So what we're going to do is just set her right in here. Easy. And I'm going to try to get my tongs out. And maybe Billy can get a nice close-up of he or she before she's getting ready to scoot those hairs. And there we are. Gorgeous look. I love those furry legs. Reminds me of the Trapepi a little bit, how fuzzy the Trapepi is. But this one, again, is still a fantastic eater. It was taking large crickets when it was about 1.5 inches with no problem. It was just wrestling them down. So they're great eaters. The growth rate is pretty good. Right now, I'd say this one is probably a little over 4 inches or so. As I stop talking and watch Billy focus out. Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So this enclosure, I'm guessing, will probably last it a molt or 2, but I did want to get it out of this one. And I didn't want to put it into the adult enclosure quite yet because, quite frankly, I got some things I have to move around for space. So this kind of came down to, all right, let's get something ready and get her into something a little bit bigger. But I'm guessing a molt or 2, she'll be out of here. I do like these enclosures. My only issue with them is they're not particularly deep. So if you want to put something, you know, a lot of extra substrate in it, it's kind of difficult, which is why I've packed some up over the cork bark over here. Give it a little extra depth. But what I'm hoping it will do is go down, adapt to that burrow, the starter burrow underneath there, and maybe calm down a little bit, because that enclosure, obviously the old one I had it in was a little bit small for it. And generally, if you put tarantulas in small, cramped enclosures, they're going to feel more skittish when you open the tops, and you're going to get more of those negative behaviors that you don't want. So I try to give them a little room when possible. Temperatures here always in the 70s. In the summer it might hit 80 for a couple days in a row, but usually high 70s or so. Winter low to mid 70s. It's grown great in those temperatures. And again, if somebody just text me or message me on Facebook asking if higher temperatures lead to faster growth rates, the answer is usually yes. Obviously, if you keep them a little bit hotter, if this kept this guy at 80 degrees, it'd probably be even bigger now. So there we go. Nando coloratovillosus. A long name, but it kind of rolls off the tongue. Have I forgot anything? As far as the moisture level, I do like to keep these guys partly moist. It hasn't shown a preference for quite a while, and as it puts on more size, I will probably just go to a larger water dish and then occasionally moisten down a corner. But again, if I don't see them gravitating to the moist substrate, I don't worry about it as much, but this is more precautionary. And again, the peat was so dusty, I wanted to kind of tamp down some of that dust, so I wanted to moisten it up a little bit. There we go. Nando coloratovillosus. I really should come in these with outlines because I always forget something. Pretty girl, or I hope girl. All right, we're about to rehouse my Thrixopelma ockerti. This is actually the third one I got. I got this the same time as I got the last spider that we rehoused from Dinky's, and the other two ended up being male. We had observed something interesting with the other two. I purchased one as a sling, was raising it up, and then I got a good deal on a juvenile. Well, the sling ended up turning out to be male. Mature, I came in, saw it one day, mature male, no problem, but it was only about 3 inches, maybe a little longer, kind of a small little guy. The other one was already bigger than that, so I assumed it was female. I did a video where I called it she, because at that point I assumed it was female. Well, 2 months later, it was male, and it was a huge male. It was closer to 6.5, maybe even 7 inches, but probably 6.5 inches, huge. So there was a huge difference in the size between the two males, and I had never witnessed that before. So this one here, I'm hoping will end up being a female. We will see. As you can see, it needs a new house. I already pulled the little plant out that was in here, but this is what it originally came in. Guys are medium growers. Again, this one I probably picked up about 18 months ago, maybe 16 months or so. And they're great eaters, voracious eaters, but they just don't seem to put on the size that some of the other great eaters do. They're also very skittish, and I will say the other two I had were two of the most skittish spiders I've ever kept. This one is probably going to be very calm and make me look like an idiot, but what we're going to try to do is prod it out. Now, set up for these guys for a while. People were talking about they were terrestrial. Then there was some talk about them being arboreal. From my observations, they seem to appreciate an arboreal more of a semi-arboreal setup, and that's how I did my other two. Although I originally had them set up terrestrial, I did some experimenting with them, and they will sit up here. My male would be up here all the time. The second mature male was up all the time. The first mature male would kind of alternate between going behind it and up top. So I do think they appreciate a little bit of height. This one here often hangs out on the side of the enclosure. No, you were in and now you're out. No, you're in and now you're out. I'm losing my touch with this. No, it's feeling the edge.
It's like the plastic.
No, don't kick. All right, you know what? Come on, don't kick, just come out. Oh my God, it's being so obstinate. I'd almost rather just come out of the whole thing. And this is, oh, if you see here, them sticking their butt up in the air, right there. That's one of their defensive postures. They stick their butts straight up in the air. Actually, I'm glad I kind of caught that. Of course, I feel bad because it means this thing's probably a little stressed out right now, but you're going to love your new home, I promise. No. Nope, stop kicking.
Oh, man.
There we go, finally. All right, so notice the butt straight up in the air. Now the colors on these guys are amazing. They have like a red hairs on their abdomen. The legs end up being like a bluish, dark bluish green color. They're just a really stunning spider. So I'm hoping I get a female this time around, because this is one I'd really love to have in my collection. Just keep getting the boys. See if I can just get them out for here. Like, wait a minute, you just tried to get me into this thing. And boom, there we go. All right, sorry, I know that was kind of stressful. So there she is in her new enclosure. Now I do keep these damp and keep the substrate moist. They don't really do burrowing, but if you give them a piece of cork bark with some moss, what they will do is kind of burrow and go behind the moss for a little while. They will do some webbing. I did have, once my males put on some size, not just sperm webs, they were doing a decent amount of webbing. So I'm hoping this one now, one of the reasons I want to put some more of this foliage in there is that we'll get some webbing around here and see her hanging up top. I do have the water dish, cork bark, some sphagnum moss. The substrate is the Terra Aranya from Biodude, which I don't mind using a little bit of that in the smaller enclosures. And temperature-wise, obviously, once again, it's usually in the 70s here. Low to mid-70s in the winter, high 70s to sometimes 80 in the summer months. Let me see if we can just zoom in a little bit. There's some of that red on the booty. So again, mine have been great eaters. They're awesome hunters. They will sometimes pounce from things up high when they sense a roach or a cricket in there, as the dogs click in the background. And great eaters, growth rate medium, but again, higher temps would probably lead to higher growth rates. So I'm guessing somebody keeping theirs in the 80s would probably have a much bigger spider by now than the one I've got. So I think that about covers it. That's Thrixopelma ockerti. She'll probably be in this one for a few molts, and then we'll get her into, I keep saying her, it's wishful thinking, it's probably gonna be another male, but if it's a her, we'll get her into a nice, probably bioactive enclosure so that she can show off those colors with some real plants. All right, hope you enjoyed that. Both guys have actually ate since I've rehoused them and are doing great. Both are very cool species. I love Nandus. Obviously, Nandu trupepe, one of my favorites of all time. And the ockertis, I just love the coloration, the bright red on the bum, that greenish blue legs they have. They're just an incredible looking spider. And I'm really hoping someday to be able to put one in one of those really nice kind of semi-arboreal bioactive enclosures and just really be able to just take in the beauty of it. Fingers crossed I get a lady this time. If not, we'll keep trying. I've had a string of males lately, so for those of you who seem to get a lot of males, I know in the past I was talking about how I've had a lot of luck with the females, not so much lately. So that'll about do it for this one. If you've never caught any of my videos before, I usually put them down in the lower area in here. If you like the video enough that you'd like to subscribe, very much appreciated. You can click the circle right around in here. Love getting comments. I'm about to be off for the summer, so I'll be able to keep up with them more, so please, take the time to comment, I will definitely respond. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.